Welcome to the Horror Unmasked podcast,
where we unmask the monsters
and explore the lore.
I'm Amber.
And I'm Lily, and today we will be dissecting
28 Days Later.
Let's avoid the blood.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Late one night, British animal rights activists break into a laboratory to free chimpanzees being used for medical research.
Dumb as hell.
For real.
Like, already.
Literally.
I'm sorry. I know you are activists. I get it. I understand wanting to save the cute little monkeys.
But it's the next
what
sentence
happens next makes this stupid.
Disregarding the warnings of a lab staff, the activists ultimately free the rage virus subjects.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Which attack and infect the activists and scientists.
You know, he tried to tell you.
Tried to warn you. He literally looked them in the face and said, they're infected. And when they asked what, and they said rage, I would just be like, we'll leave them in the cage. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
For real.
Or at least hear him out a little bit more.
I'm like,
I mean, I get your
what do you mean by rage?
Like
I would have been asking, I would be like, what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'd be asking some questions.
Infected with rage?
Yeah.
But what does that mean?
I think honestly, it was very symbolic because they all went in there guns a-blazing, raged out as hell, trying to get these monkeys
like they were
free. Like they were already infected with this virus because they weren't willing to listen to anything.
Exactly.
And they just went in there.
And the difference is they had normal human rage.
Yeah.
Not an infection version of rage.
Correct.
So the infection seems to spread very quickly through its victims, turning them into uncontrollable monsters in a matter of seconds.
It is so fast.
It's not a like you hide it over a couple of days and then you turn. No.
Yeah.
You get bit, you get instant. It's fast. It's fast.
You barely have time to say goodbye.
You're like, well,
there you go.
you're dead now.
Yep. No time to think about it. You just got to kill that person because they're going to kill you first.
Exactly. Like, you're infected, die.
Yep.
For real. And then 28 days later,
a
bicycle courier named Jim awakens from a coma in a deserted hospital after he was treated for injuries he sustained on the job. He was absolutely naked.
Absolutely naked. For a reason I can't explain because they showed it and they hovered on it for an uncomfortably amount of time.
I was like, hey, you're in a hospital. Why are you naked?
Yeah.
You'd be in a dressing gown no matter what. Like you'd be in a hospital
gown.
You would not be butt effing naked even after surgery.
Right. That's what I think The Walking Dead takes like a little parody on because Rick absolutely is in a gown.
Yes.
And wakes up in the hospital.
Yeah, I literally was like, I see the inspiration.
Yes.
But I'm just like, okay, be naked then.
I guess. Yeah, we absolutely need to see Cillian Murphy's penis. That much.
And then butt cheeks.
Yeah. They had a lot of screen time.
They had a decent, like, not a, like, was that? No, that was.
Yeah, it was.
There was no confusion happening.
Nope.
That shot was held.
Yes, and they kept coming back, too.
They kept coming back, yeah, for real.
Anyway.
So, as he leaves the hospital, dressed, by the way, in, like, scrubs, essentially, he discovers London is completely deserted and signs of a catastrophe. While he wanders the streets, he finds a church where a large group of people have gathered.
Interesting.
He quickly, however, discovers that the people are rage monsters who attack him. Yeah.
I've never seen a man turn around
and
so
run
fast.
so fast. Mm-hmm. He's chased through the streets by the infected people before being rescued by two survivors, Selena and Mark, who rush him to their hideout in the London Underground. They reveal that while Jim was comatose, the virus spread uncontrollably amongst the populace, turning most people into vicious murderers, named the infected, and resulting in societal collapse, possibly on a global scale. But they're not sure.
We don't know. Jim insists on going to his parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sir.
I mean,
though they think it's a bad plan, because it is,
mm-hmm.
Selena and Mark accompany Jim. He discovers that his parents committed suicide.
Dude, that scene
Was so sad.
where he finds them and they
and then the
note being like, and them saying, please don't wake up,
is crazy.
fucking wild.
That night,
Mm-hmm.
several infected attack the survivors, and when the fight ends, Mark is bleeding from a nasty slash on his arm.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the pleas, Selena immediately hacks him to death with a machete, explaining to Jim that infection is spread through contact with contaminated blood and overwhelms its victims in seconds,
Mm-hmm.
rendering them deadly to others.
Yep.
At first, I thought she was just trying to, like, cut his arm off.
Nah, bitch was like, I'm taking you out 100%. You are
Yeah.
dead to me.
Yes. Yes. Fair enough.
Yeah.
As the two journey through the derelict city, the next day they see Christmas lights blinking in a high-rise tenement and go to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
They then hear the sounds of approaching infected and race up the remainder of the stairs, where a man in police riot gear directs them to his apartment and fends off the infected. Frank and his teenage daughter Hannah have holed up in their flat.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning, Frank informs Jim and Selena that supplies, particularly water, are dwindling.
Which is wild in England.
Yeah. There hasn't been any rain for several weeks. Despite all the collection receptacles they've placed on the tower's roof.
Which is like, when you really see that scene, there's fucking like cups, bins, plastic things all over the roof.
Everywhere. Yeah. Frank also shows them a pre-recorded radio broadcast loop transmitted by soldiers near Manchester who claimed to have the answer to infection.
Mm.
Frank tells Selena and Jim that he and Hannah need their help to get out of the city.
Spoiler warning. Skip ahead. The survivors board Frank's cab in search of the blockade and bond with one another during the trip. When the four reach the deserted blockade, Frank is infected by blood from a dripping corpse.
It was such a tragic scene,
Truly,
to be honest.
it's actually very sad. Knowing that he's doomed, he harshly tells Hannah to stay away from him and becomes infected in seconds, nearly killing her. He is quickly shot by hiding soldiers who then commandeer the cab and take Selena, Jim, and Hannah to a fortified mansion under the command of Major Henry West. As Hannah goes into shock, Selena and Jim reach out to each other romantically. Jim discovers that West's answer to infection involves waiting for the infected to starve to death while giving hope for future community in survival by forcing sexual servitude on the female survivors. Yep. Shocked, Jim attempts to escape with Selena and Hannah, but is captured by the soldiers, along with a sergeant named Farrell, who disagrees with the major's plan. While Jim and Farrell, I'm going to say Farrell.
Whichever.
Farrell are imprisoned for the night. Farrell theorizes that there is no worldwide epidemic. that the infection takes hold of its victims so rapidly that it would have been impossible for any infected to escape the British Isles, leading the rest of Europe and perhaps the world to impose a strict quarantine on the British Isles, which is a fascinating thought.
Yeah.
That just all of England is just cut off from the rest of the world.
Yeah. Like it was spreading so fast that they were like, whoop, you're done.
Yeah. Like an immediate, because it moves so fast that it didn't have time to spread beyond. So I think that's fascinating. I think that's a fascinating concept, that there's just like people in like France and America that are just like living their regular lives and are just like with their friends being like, oh my God, I feel so bad for the people of England, but we can't really do anything about it.
Yep.
Wild. Absolute crazy.
Anyway. The next day, soldiers lead the prisoners into the woods to be executed. Selina and Hannah are trapped as the soldiers are desperate to begin raping them. While the two executioners fight about how to kill Farrell, Jim runs off. He observes the contrails of jet aircraft flying high overhead and realizes that someone in the outside world is still functioning. Jim runs back to the soldiers' headquarters where he unleashes Mailer, an infected soldier that West kept chained outside for observation. Mailer attacks the soldiers in the mansion. As Jim, Selina, and Hannah are trying to escape, West shoots Jim in the side before he's left to the infected. They rush to the hospital to save Jim. Another 28 days has passed, and a bandaged Jim is shown waking up in recovery again, only this time on one side of a double bed in a remote cottage. Downstairs, he finds Selina sewing large swaths of fabric when Hannah appears. The three rush outside and unfurl a huge cloth banner, adding the final letter to the word, hello, laid out on the meadow, as an approaching jet flies over. Across the landscape, the infected lie in the streets, dying of starvation. After the jet zooms past the three waving survivors and their distress sign, Selina wonders aloud, do you think he saw us this time?
The end.
Now, I don't understand why they didn't put help, because that would have cut down 2 letters and just made it 1.
Yeah.
But
it's the idea that it's like okay. I almost like the fact that it says hello instead of help, because help, a lot of the time in zombie films, saying help on something means that there's danger around.
Oh. Fair enough.
So for me, hello feels more like,
hey,
we're a safe place.
Yeah.
But we're also like surviving and we're stranded here.
Yeah, so please just
like
yeah.
Show us that there's other people. You know, take us to other people.
Fair enough.
So, because that's such a common trope. You see the word help and then there's like the dead around. In many zombie features, you see that. But this movie was released June 27th, 2003. The director is Danny Boyle.
Just Boyle.
Boyle? I can't English. The director is Danny Boyle. Its sequel is 28 weeks later, and its third film is 28 years later. That literally is just out. They are a rated R film. This is our horror sci-fi, which you can definitely feel the difference. I have their budget at $8 million. What was their box office?
Their box office was pretty good, actually. It was $73 million.
Wow, that's actually very good.
Yes.
For an $8 million budget, which honestly, when I get into my notes, you will understand why it was $8 million. Very quickly.
Yeah. Well, notes and things. So its runtime was 1 hour and 53 minutes, so almost 2 hours. It honestly felt pretty long to me.
It does. It feels long.
It feels very long to me. Rotten Tomatoes, 75%.
I'm okay with that.
Which I'd put it a little lower, but that's just me.
Like,
but I guess for
what
it
was.
did and what it was, and
yeah,
that makes sense. But as for the death counts,
a lot.
I believe what this information here is all of the on-screen deaths.
Yeah,
but all of the off-screen deaths, England. There you go.
England, Ireland, Wales.
Yeah, the British Isles.
Yeah.
So, but on screen, 204 humans.
Holy shit.
40.
That's on screen.
On screen, yeah. Yeah. 42 zombies.
So that number's bigger.
And
Holy shit.
9 animals.
You know?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
That's a lot of dead.
That is a lot of dead. I did miss some of the cast members, so hopefully you have the rest of them. But I've got 6 of them.
I have, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
I missed
6.
Sergeant.
I only have 6.
No, I didn't miss Mark. Okay.
I only have 6.
Okay, I didn't miss Mark. Okay, we're good.
Okay.
All right, so for our main character, Jim, he was played by Mr. Cillian Murphy. Or Killian Murphy?
Killian
Murphy?
It's Killian.
Killian Murphy. Sorry, I always forget that part.
Yeah.
I know he's very famous and he's done a lot of things, but, you know.
Mm-hmm. And he is in 28 Years Later.
Yes, he is. We also have Megan Burns as Hannah, Brendan Gleeson as Frank, Naomi Harris as Selena, Christopher Eccleston as Henry, and Noah Huntley as Mark.
Yep. That's what I have. What I have.
That's our cute little cast list.
Yes.
So most of them are names that I've heard before.
Yes.
So
100%. Yeah. My biggest takeaway for this movie, so the horror sci-fi vibe of this is very obvious versus our Aliens, which was sci-fi horror.
Yes.
Totally, you can feel the difference between the two, not just because it's aliens versus zombies, but it's also the vibe of it. This movie also is not, for as much as it is a zombie film, there's not a lot of zombies in it.
Right.
It's this is, for me, it has a little bit of a vibe of A Quiet Place, a little bit more so because it focuses on the story of survival.
Yeah.
Granted, in A Quiet Place, the aliens are very much important to the story.
Right.
And the reason why things happen. I mean, same concept here for this, but you get the sci-fi from the idea that there was a rage virus.
Yeah.
So
which
that
makes
leads
it that
to the sci-fi
element.
But yeah, you don't get a whole lot with the zombies themselves. Even though it is a horror film, it's that blood and guts and gore vibe, but it's not that grotesque as you expect out of like other, like The Walking Dead, I could probably say is way more zombie grotesque.
Yes,
than
very much
this.
so, very much so. Because you got more guts and
Exactly.
and decaying body parts. And
So I definitely feel like this is definitely focuses more on the social nature of living through this kind of event, which is definitely interesting, because I think that the other films, the 28 Weeks and 28 Years, does give you more of the zombie. Even though I assume that they also still focus on the social or that the people's experience, but I definitely feel like, and that may be part of the filming, which I'll get into, and just the technical aspects of it,
right,
that they were able to involve that more. Because this movie does not have a whole lot of information on it in regards to special effects stuff. Like, yes, it's in there, but it's not talked about a whole lot. And its filming qualities are not what you're expecting.
No.
So
Let's get into
early influences on the writer Alex Garland included the George A. Romero film Night of the Living Dead, 1968, and Dawn of the Dead, 1978, which he loved as a child. So Garland claimed to have largely forgotten about the zombie genre until he played the video game Resident Evil,
Yippee!
1996, which reminded him how much he loved zombies after having not really encountered zombies for quite a while. So the film features scenes set in normally bustling parts of London, such as Westminster Bridge, Piccadilly Circus, Horse Guards Parade, and Oxford Street. So to depict these locations as desolate, the film crew closed off sections of street for minutes at a time.
Minutes.
Usually on Sunday mornings. They typically had around 45 minutes after dawn to shoot the locations devoid of members of the public and traffic. 45 minutes.
Yep.
For the London scene in which Jim walks by an overturned double-decker bus, the film crew placed the bus on its side and removed it when the shot was finished, all within 20 minutes.
That's insane.
The crew had...
How do you do that?
And here's the thing. The crew had asked Westminster City Council for permission to place the bus outside Downing Street, which was denied.
Oof.
When they arrived there at 4 a.m. and nobody from the council was present, they placed the bus there anyway.
Yeah.
They're like, fuck it. Let's go.
Who's here to tell us no?
Now, here's an interesting thing.
A little good trouble.
The September 11th attack took place during filming.
Oh, shit.
Boyle noted the parallel between the missing persons flyers seen at the beginning of the film and similar flyers posted in New York City in the wake of the attack.
That's rough.
Boyle said that his crew probably would not have been granted permission to close off Whitehall for filming after the terrorist attack.
Yeah.
So it's kind of wild that kind of event happened at the same time as this filming.
Yeah.
Is also fascinating at the same time because it's the mentality of like, what does that mean? Now, much of the film's atmosphere can be attributed to Danny Boyle and his team's use of digital video cameras. Portions of the film were shot on a Canon XL1 digital video camera, which was smaller and more maneuverable than traditional film cameras, which would have been impractical on such brief shoots. So while the choice sacrificed video quality, it allowed for easy access to shoot around London in places that were only accessible for minutes at a time in order to accommodate heavy vehicle and foot traffic in the area. But the dip in video quality is also an important aesthetic choice, frequently lending the film a sense of grit and intimacy, similar to a CCTV feed. The other big thing is that it lends also to the sense that Jim might be trapped outside of reality, never fully leaves. Even as he encounters more and more people, his journey feels ready to sink into full dream logic at any moment. Not just content to toy around with the visuals, Boyle also heightened the atmosphere through editing, such as removing frames from a sequence to make the scene more jarring. This is particularly on display during the film's actual dream sequence, as Jim sweats through an Ambien-laced nightmare. It comes just after Jim has settled into a routine with a makeshift family, and even though he's eventually comforted by Brendan Gleeson's surrogate father figure, it's a discomforting reminder about the frailty of their situation.
Yeah.
And in the dream, he has been abandoned once again, and the fear of being alone is thick in Jim's voice as he calls out for anyone. The scene repeating seconds of shots to disorient the viewer. It's a familiar sense of powerlessness, a feeling that something has gone terribly wrong and you have as much impact in this world as a hand passing through water.
Yeah.
So, that is as technical that I could get with this film. Now, something I will get into is the alternative endings.
Oh?
Because there are the DVD, which I do have. I bought the 28 Days Later DVD, widescreen edition. Take that as you will. It's 2003. It's a 2003 movie. Its quality is not fantastic, but we did it.
Yeah.
And it has obviously the extras included. God, do you remember with DVDs when you had like extras, deleted scenes?
Yes.
Fucking some of them had games.
Mm-hmm.
Swear to God. Loved that time period.
Mm-hmm.
So the DVD's extras included 3 alternative endings.
Oh, okay.
All of which end with Jim either dying or getting infected.
Oh, okay.
2 were filmed, while the third, a more radical departure, was only storyboarded. So, and 2 of them are kind of connected, is how I see it, because one could play and then the next one could happen. So the first one is Jim dies at the hospital.
Right.
So in this ending, after Jim is shot, Celine and Hannah still rush him to the deserted hospital, but the scene is extended. Selena, with Hannah's assistance, attempts to perform life-saving procedure, but can't revive Jim due to blood loss. Selena is heartbroken, and Hannah, distraught, looks to her for guidance. Selena tells Hannah that they will go on. They pick up their guns and walk away from Jim's lifeless body.
Damn.
Celine and Hannah, fully armed, walk through the operating room doors, which gradually stop swinging. On the DVD commentary, which I did listen to it with commentary on, Boyle and Garland explain that this was the original ending of the film's first cut, which was tested with preview audiences. It was ultimately rejected for seeming too bleak.
Oh, okay.
The final exit from the hospital was intended to imply that Selena and Hannah's survival, whereas test audience felt that the women were marching off to certain death.
Oh.
Boyle and Garland express a preference for this alternative ending, calling it the true ending. They comment that this ending brought Jim full circle as he started and finished the story in a bed in a deserted hospital.
Yeah.
So, this is the next ending, which I could see as a connection to this one, because the first one could play and then this one could play.
Gotcha.
Rescue Coda without Jim. Give me a second, it's weird.
Okay.
This ending, for which only a rough edit was completed, is an alternative version of the potential rescue sequence shown at the very end of the released film. Here, The scenes are identical, except that this ending was intended to be placed after the first alternative ending where Jim dies. So he's absent. Where Celine is sewing one of the banner letters in the cottage, she is fastidiously talking to a chicken instead of Jim. Only Celine and Hannah are seen waving to the jet flying overhead in the final shot.
Gotcha.
So instead of Jim, it's a chicken. So that's the difference. So Jim dies, they get a chicken.
What a great replacement.
That's that ending. Now, this is, when I read this one and got to hear this one, it's called the radical alternate ending.
Okay.
Because it's very different.
Okay.
Very. So the radical alternative ending was not filmed and is presented on the DVD as a series of illustrated storyboards with voiceovers by Boyle and Garland. This ending would have taken the story in a radically different direction from the film's midpoint. When Frank is infected at the military blockade near Manchester, the soldiers do not enter the story. Instead, Jim, Selena, and Hannah are somehow able to restrain the infected Frank, hoping they will find a cure for the virus nearby, as suggested in the radio broadcast. They soon discover that the blockade has protected a large medical research complex, the same one featured in the first scene of the film where the virus was developed. Inside.
That's full circle.
Yeah. Inside, the party is relieved to find a scientist self-barricaded inside a room with food and water. He won't open the door because he fears they will take his food, although he does admit that the answer to infection is here. Unfortunately, he refuses to talk further because he doesn't want to make an emotional attachment to people who will soon be dead. After hours of failed attempts to break through the door or coax the man out, Jim eventually brings Hannah to the door and explains Frank's situation. The scientist reluctantly tells them that Frank can only be cured with a complete blood transfusion and supplies them with the necessary equipment. After learning that he is the only match with Frank's blood type, Jim nobly sacrifices himself so that Frank can survive with his daughter. Just as his journey began, Jim is left alone in the abandoned medical facility, and Celine, Hannah, and Frank move into the room with the scientist as a horde of infected breach the complex.
Fuck.
Strapped to the table as the chimp had been in the opening scene, the computer monitor showed death and destruction come to life around a thrashing, infected Jim. Yeah.
That one's crazy.
So Garland and Boyle explained that they conceptualized this ending to see what the film would be like if they did not expand the focus beyond the core 4 survivors. They ultimately decided against it because the idea of a total blood replacement as a cure was not credible, especially because the film has already established that a single drop of blood is enough to infect a person. Boyle said in the DVD commentary that this ending didn't make much sense, since one drop of blood can infect a person. What would you do? Drain him of blood and scrub his veins with bleach? So it's not realistic, but it's a fascinating take on what could have been.
Right. Yeah.
But
I feel like I like that ending. I feel like they could have figured out some other cure though, and that could have still been
like some other form of something. But yeah, that is my notes for this.
Yeah.
So
Very cool.
do you have?
So I have a
Since
little
this
bit.
is our first time talking about zombies in general.
Zombies. Yeah, it's our first zombie movie.
Our two firsts in one
one
go.
month. Yeah. So I have a little bit more on the inspirations behind 28 Days Later. I know you mentioned Alex Garland drew inspiration from Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead and then Resident Evil. But in addition to these movies and these games, Garland was also inspired by British science fiction literature. Specifically John Wyndham's 1951 novel, The Day of the Triffids. So that novel is a portrayal of a post-apocalyptic world where society collapses due to sudden catastrophe. But that resonated with Garland and obviously influenced part of 28 Days Later. Because that was like one of his first real introductions to that kind of dark
that
literature
story
style
kind of concept.
The director Danny Boyle is known for his work on movies Slumdog Millionaire and Trainspotting. And then when he was brought on to this, he was particularly interested in the concept of rage and its potential to drive individuals to such extreme actions. So that led to the fascination, that fascination led to the creation of this rage virus. So the highly contagious infection that turns its victims into violent frenzy beings. So as we talked about, it happens very, very quickly. So because it's so fast and so aggressive, that's part of what sets it apart from traditional zombie outbreaks. So it adds another layer of more urgency to all of the different scenes. Yeah, so Danny Boyle was the one who kind of added this sense of rage to this new kind of zombie that they've created. So for this rage virus,
which is fascinating in general.
Yeah, it was influenced by real world diseases. So to add that next layer of realism. So Boyle and Garland both drew inspiration from the Ebola virus. Because that's also known for its very rapid progression. And it does have a very high fatality rate. As well, they looked as well as at rabies. Which also causes aggression, obviously, and then that foaming at the mouth in later stages. So those diseases symptoms were mirrored in the infected's behavior. Making the threat feel more
because it's such a
real.
Unique. It's such a unique concept for a zombie.
It definitely changed things. Actually, now I'll talk about some history about zombies.
Hell yeah.
Let's go into the lore, because we haven't actually talked about zombies before.
The
lore! Okay, so the zombie concept can be traced back centuries to ancient times. There are lots of cultures that express many fears about undead or reanimated corpses. But there are archaeological discoveries of ancient graves that show skeletons pinned down by heavy objects, to prevent reanimation. So it's like this stuff has been around forever. Like you even see that with stuff about vampires. Like
there's
we've
even
talked about
people
it
today who want to be cremated or buried in a certain way because like it's the what if they come back
right
mentality.
The most direct and most recognized origin of the zombie actually comes from Haitian folklore. Specifically within the voodoo region.
Hell yeah, voodoo.
So it's believed that West African traditions brought by enslaved people to Haiti in the 17th century. And I know we've talked about this in another episode before.
Yeah.
I'm not remembering which one exactly, but that's okay. But they developed this
It
belief.
might have been, we might have possibly talked about it in, oh my God, holy shit, Exorcist Believer.
Yes.
We may have spoke about it in that one.
Mm-hmm. Possibly because I know they went to the Haiti in the beginning of the film and stuff. But so these West African traditions were brought by enslaved people to Haiti in the 17th century, and they believed that this powerful sorcerer named Bokor could reanimate a corpse to act as their mindless servant.
Yes.
So it definitely reflected a time of fear of slavery and loss of autonomy.
Yes.
And just not having control of your body anymore and your situations.
Weird. It's almost like that feels a little bit like it's happening right now.
Interesting.
Weird.
Yeah. So that's where it stems from. But then you also have early zombie portrayals in film and books. There's one from 1932. It's a film called White Zombie. So most of these forms of media about zombies definitely stuck to this voodoo inspired idea of zombies being controlled by a Bokor.
Yeah.
So they were typically shown as slow moving and robotic and not quick. They were not quick, not like this movie shows. So that was then. And then
literally The Walking Dead, the shambling dead.
Yeah. So then you have, that's when George A. Romero's 1968 Night of the Living Dead comes out. So that then introduced this like flesh eating,
like gory.
Gory, the one that became like the more dominant picture that you see of a zombie in popular
And when you
culture.
think of zombies, you think of brains.
Brains. But this shift came because there were more social anxieties about pandemics, societal collapse, losing individuality.
And zombie movies always tend to come out either before, during, or right after a pandemic is about to happen. Always. Some kind of virus or outbreak of something.
It's so lovely. But I also know that I'm pretty sure it was this one, Night of the Living Dead, where it was also like in high school we talked about how like it kind of showed a theme of like capitalism.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness, that was great. That was so funny. Just watching all the zombies in the mall. But then you have 28 Days Later, which then introduced another new kind of zombie, and that's the one we're talking about. Not technically a zombie, but more an infection. So not really coming back from the dead, but just becoming infected.
And it's not the same kind of like decay, rotting, like holes in the body kind of vibe. More of like they're still whole. Like obviously with time they would decay, but like they still look like people.
Yeah. Now it's like zombies. It's kind of the umbrella term. Like, even if it's you die and come back or you're infected, it's still something with your brain and
it's any kind of infection.
Yeah.
Because even like The Last of Us, that was like a fungal.
Yeah.
So whereas it's a blood rage virus. So it's an infection, but it's also, something living beyond its time.
Yep. So with that, and then adding that level of speed and aggression, you definitely move away from that George A. Romero's slower zombie type. So then you have another shift where this portrayal reflected more of like more social anxieties and fears around like technological advancements and like how the world is shifting into different things, and that's where you get like this kind of blood virus, and then as well as the Last of Us like fungal
like
adaptation,
spore,
adapting to the world around.
It also
them.
makes me think of World War Z.
Yeah, yes.
Because I know in that film, like, do you know like the crux of like how you avoid the zombies? Like why certain people are able to avoid the zombies?
I haven't watched that movie in so long. So,
with World War Z, what they find out is that zombies go after healthy people. So if you're sick, they don't touch you. Because there's like, I guess I think I remember there being like a scene of a boy on the bridge who's like malnourished and sickly,
right?
And they just go past him.
That's right.
And
so those are quick. I hated those.
And these are also the quick, fast, like almost ant-like moving.
Something that haunts my dreams is when they're piling up on the
wall and they're just like climbing over each other. Yes.
No.
They're able to create bridges with themselves to get across spaces.
Very ant mentality. It's crazy.
The whole crux is that he's able to like put like like a quote quote diseased blood on him to protect him against the zombies.
Yeah.
Because he's seen as no longer healthy and more like them.
Yeah.
Which is also it's a fascinating concept because it's also the idea of like now you must blend in.
Yes.
And not stand out.
Whew. There's so many different types, but yeah. That's what I got about the zombies.
Yeah. And there will definitely be more zombie movies to come. We definitely have them on there.
I would love to go into more stuff about them.
Yeah. We will not. We've already talked about this before. We don't really like to do the comedy zombie stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you're not gonna get Shaun of the Dead or Zombieland. Like,
sorry.
We don't want to get into the comedy of it. It also is the same thing.
You're probably not even gonna get what was that one we both really freaking loved? It was the one dude and the girl, and then there
Warm Bodies.
Warm Bodies.
You're not gonna get that one either, even though we love it. It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's also a fascinating concept because it plays on the idea of brains. But because it's also the fact that you're not going to get any of the scary movies from us or like the joke paranormal haunting films. You're not going to get any of that from us.
Sorry. We are not that podcast.
It's just we're not interested in that necessarily speaking because again it's parody films on the real ones that we would rather talk about because the real ones have all of the more fascinating concepts with them.
Correct. That's why like we wouldn't go into the lore and the making of these monsters if we didn't want to know about the monster part.
Like we want to let you know about like we want to make you either less scared of it or more interested in the idea of like, oh, that's how they did that? That's so cool, or that's crazy, or holy shit, that was unsafe.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of fascinating things with it, so but I assume you have a lovely 1 star for me.
I don't know if I'd call it lovely. It's very long, I will say.
Oh shit. Okay.
I
Do not tell
me
it's not one of those fucking. You've done it twice to me already, where you've done the like fucking repeating.
No,
it's not one of them.
No, it is not.
Okay,
it's not. I have done it though because it's funny every time.
Because like, why?
I don't like. No,
why?
They're just trying to get their comments,
their words.
Maybe they get points or something for. Yeah,
like why?
You know how you get like points and stuff for writing reviews about certain products. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe there's some IMDb
like your word count, like whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so no, some people on these 1 stars write like multiple paragraphs.
Yeah,
and it's too much. But
I'm like, I don't need your essay on this.
Like,
thanks. We're already doing them.
Yeah, because if you notice, the shorter ones have more like thumbs up, thumbs down than the longer ones.
Yeah, because no one wants to read the longer ones.
Yep, but here we go. Here we are.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Let's
do it.
So, the premise behind this film fails to keep my interests because what goes on after the initial virus hit is so unrealistic that it cannot induce fear in me. A virus turns ordinary people into rage-filled zombies, killing most of England's population. Fair enough. The power there goes out, and contact with the outside world is lost. The characters assume the worst. They think the rest of the world has suffered the same fate as England, and don't even try to get off the island. Unfortunately for the story writer, no one ever told him about things that like radios that still pick up signals from France, or that a smart character, you know, the kind you care about, might try to use a boat to get off the island. What about the Channel? Heck, some people can swim across the England Channel. Instead, the characters listen to their radios, which tells them to come to the British Army.
Were they calling it the... Are you saying Channel?
They are saying Channel.
I was like, I know you know it's Channel.
Yeah.
They're saying Channel.
Channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I see your intellect level
you
already.
You heard me correctly.
I was like, I'm the fuck sorry.
No, yeah. Oh, they fix it here.
Oh. But don't fix the other ones?
Okay, whatever.
All right. I'll leave those as Channel. We'll say Channel down here.
Whatever. And what a great army it is, because after only 1 month, they have degenerated into a bunch of power-driven, thieving rapists.
Dude, it was 28 days, and they were already like, I can't fuck anything.
Right? Bro.
Do each other. Chill out.
Literally.
Go jerk it in a corner. Like, I don't know, but you need to chill out.
Yeah.
God damn.
Honestly, they're making some points. Doesn't Britain have one of the top 5 armies in the world? Yet in the film, they can't keep discipline for 4 weeks.
Damn.
Unbelievable.
That's fucking wild. That is actually wild.
That's fucked up. Pepsi is everywhere.
Annoying. Pepsi is everywhere. I saw the first Pepsi and I was like, advertisement. I can tell who you were promoting.
Yeah, but listen, and odd, seeing as the stuff is hard to find in England.
So stupid.
That is stupid. I actually kind of like that.
That's actually really funny.
So poorly written. And as for the tagline on the commercials, scariest movie since The Exorcist, wow. They want the viewer to think taking a digital camcorder and zooming in and out again really fast is scary.
Okay. I can't hate them on their commentary about The Exorcist. Can't hate them for that because it's accurate. This movie is also not scary.
Correct.
So I understand the comments, but it also neither of those movies are very scary. But it's very much a movie of its time, and it brought a new type of zombie into the equation.
Yes.
It also brought out the idea that not all zombies have to be dead and re-risen. They can be an infection in another way. You know what I mean? Like it shows a whole new potential for a type of zombie. Which may be part of the inspiration as to why The Last of Us was fungal, to show like it gave that inspiration of like, well, anything could possibly happen.
Yeah.
So what is another type of interesting zombie that it could be? Right. You know, so
there are so many different types of zombies.
Yeah.
So many different types of vampires.
Yes.
So many different types of werewolves.
Yes.
Because,
There's only one types of mummies, though.
Yeah.
There's only one types of mummies.
Yes. Hidoji. But yeah, that is...
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
A little on the nose regarding, just world stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, sorry about that.
Yeah. Yeah. But our next one is going to be nice and fun. I'll return to kind of a favorite form because it's always kind of unsettling.
Yeah.
And that is the Blair Witch Project. Our lovely found footage concepts.
As of right now, I still have not seen it.
Same. Needs a must watching.
Yes.
But look forward to that. It's going to be very fun. I'm excited to get into this because I feel like we haven't done anything like it yet.
Right.
Because I'm not counting the Gallows as the same concept.
Okay.
Although the Gallows had a found footage nature, like it was a found footage film.
Yeah.
I feel like this film created like a whole existence of concepts for the found footage idea.
Yeah.
Because I know that, which we might find out on both of our ends, I think there are definitely people who believed that it was real.
I think so.
So
yes,
it's a fascinating concept on the found footage world, and I'm very interested to watch it and see it for whatever it is, you know.
I am also excited. This has been on the list for a very, very long time, because obviously it is such a classic.
Yeah, it's a super classic. It's on that list of
everyone
classics.
has heard of the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah,
unless you're baby.
Unless you're babies.
But then you get a pass.
Oh yeah. Then you have to watch it later.
Yes.
But yeah, look forward to that. I'm excited because its pair for the month is also fascinating because it's a return to form, but it's also like 100% the whole opposite end of that spectrum. So I've really loved the dichotomy of some of the things that we've been doing each month. I've liked that. So
yeah,
that's a fun
where
concept.
we can talk about one and then kind of flip it on its head and
yeah,
talk about it in a different way.
Oh yeah. So again, look forward to that. Also, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, bell, click, all that kind of stuff. Share us around.
Do it.
You can send us an email at horrorunmasked@gmail.com. And you can listen to us on all of the places. And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to ask. Will you fear?
Or will you fear not?